What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Grid Encore. I'm your host, Ben Schneider, joined as always by Brandon Crossland. Brandon, how's it going tonight?
It's going good, Ben. Good to be back on Grid Encore, and it is another Motor Monday. Although I'll be real with you, there is absolutely nothing in here. It's just for show.
And we got the PC situation figured out here.
Yeah, week 2 of that being okay again. So we'll just hope it stays that way.
Sounds good. Yeah, apologies. We were a few minutes late here after 7 o'clock. I understand, Brandon, you got a pop-up message saying your device needed to restart, and we figured better safe than sorry. Let's just go ahead and do that now so that it doesn't automatically trigger during the live stream or anything. But all good here. I only have a 7:04 on my end, so we're still relatively close to our start time. No harm, no foul there. And good to see our friend Kobe Lambeth in the chat room as well. Thank you for tuning in, Kobe. And thank you, as always, to our Patreon investors who help make this show possible every week. Colin, Michelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew, your support means the world to us here at Grid Network. And if you like what you see on the show tonight, you can consider joining them in making an investment in not just this program, but all our programs here at Grid Network, and help not just keep us on the air throughout the end of the year. We're coming to the end of the 2024 season. But as we get into 2025, we want to get to the track on a more regular basis and only continue to expand our coverage for you, the viewers. Or if you'd rather make a one-time donation instead, if you're watching us live on YouTube, you can click the super chat option, or you can visit the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box below as well. Now, Brandon, I want to give you a chance, as we have been the last few weeks here. I kind of like this open segment thing that we're doing now that I'm not on the wrap-up show as regularly, and you've always just kind of been on the Encore show on Mondays. I like giving you a chance to give some thoughts on the Cup Series race before we get into the main portion of the show. And my goodness, what a finish it was with Tyler Reddick there on the last lap on slightly older tires, getting around both Denny Hamlin with 2 to go, and then Ryan Blaney last turn, last lap pass around the outside. I heard a caller on Dave Moody's radio show this afternoon saying it was basically like he did the Hail Melon. He just didn't actually ride the wall to do it. He carried so much speed around the outside of Ryan Blaney there on the last lap. But what was your reaction to that finish? And then we're hearing this rumor coming back that Homestead potentially is in the running as soon as 2026 to maybe make a bid for the championship finale again. What would be your take on that? It seems like it's a universally agreed upon sentiment. A lot of fans are sharing that we should go back to Homestead for the finale over Phoenix.
Yeah, Ben, it would be really nice if the powers that be could just take the bait on this already and just send us back to Homestead-Miami for the championship weekend. Man, that was really fun, and I got to credit Lee Diffie. He made another iconic call, and just his few weekends as the man for NBC. It was something along the lines of he didn't just use he used the boards, he ripped them apart. I mean, that was when I heard that, I was like, oh, instant classic. Like, Lee just helped make that an instant classic, but also Tyler Reddick made that an instant classic because, man, that was just a case of who wanted it more. And Tyler Reddick overpowered them on the outside. Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney didn't see it coming. And Jeff Burton also added that on the broadcast as well. Like, this wasn't a case where it was an instance where someone was the weaker link. You know, they were all good. And Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin were not doing anything wrong. Tyler Reddick was just faster and on older tires. It doesn't make any sense. But he was on that alternate strategy there, and it paid off in the best way. Michael Jordan celebrating in Miami on pit road, it just looked great. It's a great look for the entire sport. And yes, that along with the other times we've been here, I mean, it was a little bit of a snooze fest 2 years ago, I think, whenever Kyle Larson led a majority of the race. But I mean, it was a different part of the year. I think we're having it closer to November. Maybe make some changes in the weather, but still, this track is special with. It was special with the Gen 6 car, and it's still sort of special here with this Gen 7. And the Gen 7 doesn't like too many places. I think it likes this place. It's not as easy to slide job as it was, I think, with the Gen 6 car, but it's got its own. The Gen 7 has its own sort of character of how you drive it, and Homestead is still Homestead. It is the best 1.5-mile track we go to on the calendar, and it deserves to be back in the championship weekend if they will allow it.
Yeah, I think it really is the perfect place for the finale, and especially with this next gen car, and obviously its strengths being the 1.5 miles and the intermediates and Homestead, as you said, Brandon, being, I think, in a lot of fans' minds, the best 1.5 miles that we have on the schedule. Just the racing there has been phenomenal year in and year out. There have been a couple of races that are the exception to that. I'm thinking of, I think Kyle Busch's 2019 championship was, I mean, obviously you had the package that we all know and love and have been very happy to forget about. That kind of played a factor into that. I think that one only got like 30% on the Gluck poll, which for a Homestead race is incredibly low. I don't know, maybe Kyle Busch's lack of popularity with certain fans maybe played a role in that as well.
A combination of both.
Yeah, for sure. But I think on the whole, the racing in Homestead, regardless of the era, ever since they reconfigured it for the final time, has been very, very good. And not just in Cup as well. We've seen it in trucks and Xfinity, also giving us several classics there. And you know what? I mean, I don't want to be too much of a Debbie Downer here today. I mean, fans of this show, people who follow me on social media know how I feel about the playoff format. I don't need to beat a dead horse there. But I will say this. If we're going to keep this format, and it sounds like we, higher ups in the sport seem to really like this format and like the drama that it provides, and we certainly got that yesterday. I think we have to have this track as the finale. And again, I don't want to. The way this season has gone, I mean, we just saw, I think, what a lot of people think was the best finish of the year, and that's in a year where we had a 3-wide photo finish at Atlanta, where the spread between the top three was 7 thousandths of a second. We had a 1/1000th of a second finish that the computer was even too close for the computer to recognize. It thought Chris Buescher had beaten Kyle Larson. It was actually the other way around. And we had a thrilling battle where Buescher got his redemption and got the win over SVG at Watkins Glen, beating one of the best road course racers in the world to do that. And in a year where we had all of that, we still have a finish that arguably topped all three of those here. We've been absolutely spoiled. So I don't want to say definitively, but I can say with about 99.9% confidence, based on the trends of the last 2 years, based on the kind of racing that we've gotten across the board at Phoenix since we made it a championship finale, I don't think it will get better than that. I have a very hard time seeing. I mean, Brett Griffin, God bless him, maybe he's just trying to speak it into existence on social media this weekend, but I don't think Phoenix will get better than that. I'm sorry to all the race fans in Arizona there. I think it's going to be very hard to top what we saw yesterday. And so in light of that, I hope that, whatever talks there, that are ongoing with Homestead-Miami and with NASCAR and, whoever's involved in that, I just really hope that we can find a way to bring the schedule back to a point where we can crown our champions here. Because again, I'm a realist. I know that this format's not going anywhere. And if we're going to keep this format, I think, having it at 1.5 miles where driver skill can make a difference, where we see great racing as we clearly saw this weekend. I think Homestead's the perfect place to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something about beginning your season in Florida and ending it in Florida.
That's true as well.
That's just, it's been a pastime. And yes, it is the past way of doing it. That doesn't always mean that it's the right way of doing it. But in this case, I think you'd be hard pressed to find the majority of fans that wouldn't be opposed to it coming back to Miami, at least for maybe a 4 or 5 year run and see where we lie there with the Gen 7 as it comes into adolescence, as I heard someone say.
Yeah, that's a good term for it, actually.
It's about to grow out of the house.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think again, that was again another situation. The 2019 race notwithstanding, probably just a situation where they fixed something that wasn't broken. I don't think too many people were complaining about having the championship decided at Phoenix or a season finale, or at Homestead rather. I mean, I don't think very many people were asking for it to be at Phoenix. Is what I meant to say. I suppose I think maybe some people were saying if we're going to have this format, we should rotate it every year. And I think you're seeing that sentiment pop up again here with it being Homestead this weekend. I think those are the two options. I don't think we should be going to Phoenix again. No disrespect to the fans in Arizona, but I think you look past the locals. Not too many people have been hyped about a Phoenix championship finale, and I think as we saw in the Truck Series last year, just the way that track is designed with late race restarts, really just leads to the opportunity for too much chaos for us to be crowning a champion with a one race winner take all system with 4 drivers. So I think those are your 2 options, probably bring it back to Homestead or rotate around on an annual basis and let different tracks have a turn at crowning our champions.
And also another reason that Miami is just, it was the perfect place to have your championship race, especially with this format, is it's sort of that very vanilla. It's great, but it's like, it's that vanilla banked, not too much banked, not flat, 4 corners, 1.5 miles, very standard, very, like if you're doing a scientific experiment on who should be your champion, it's a very base, template to do that. Phoenix is not really a base template. It is a certain type of place that one would assume curtails to certain type of driving styles. I think we've seen Christopher Bell and his chances, if he's able to sneak his way into the championship 4, of how well he could do there simply because of his skill set at Phoenix. But that's another reason I think it was a perfect championship locale, is just because of how neutral it is. You don't, and that's why you want to rotate it too, because at least you're changing it up. But if we had a base place that decides the champion, then you'll get a well-rounded, hopefully a more well-rounded champion in theory.
Yeah, well, but again, and again, I don't want to beat a dead horse too much here. We've got a long show ahead of us, but I think just another reason why I struggle with the idea of a one race winner take all is because as we know, Tyler Reddick, how did he win his 2 Xfinity Series championships? What Homestead is arguably his number 1 track, his best track, and Kyle Larson's the same way with how those guys can run the high line, how much the high line is an advantage if you can get up close to the wall and not run into it all day. Kyle Larson's a master at that as well. He was saying in his post-race interviews that he took what he felt like was a 20th or 25th place car and was contending for the win there at the end. Obviously, he did that half spin at the end of the race, and that kind of compromised his chances to be fighting for it there at the end. But we were saying, back when Homestead was still the finale, when Larson was driving that Ganassi car, like if Larson could just get to the championship 4, he would have a great shot at winning a championship. But obviously, it took until he got over to Hendrick for him to get that opportunity. And if he's won a championship at Phoenix, and wouldn't put another championship past him here in the not too distant future, maybe as soon as a couple of weeks from now, we'll see. But I don't know. It's going to be an interesting talking point and conversation, I'm sure, all throughout next year. But fingers crossed, when we get that 26 schedule, maybe we can go back to having Homestead as a championship decider.
And I know we're beating a dead horse, but one more thing, you don't have to comment on, just one more thing about it. Also, the championship race with this format, it absolutely is a lot more about those 4 drivers than it is about the track. Like the way that it's presented, it can be anywhere. The track doesn't matter. It doesn't. The broadcast doesn't care. I mean, it does, but when it comes down to the storylines, it's not about the track. It's about those 4 drivers, where they are on the racetrack. End of story.
All right, we'll leave it there. We'll catch up on the chat room before we move on here. Joe says Homestead-Miami with a spring date. Either it'll be a great spring break tradition or it won't work and needs to move back to a championship race. Well, we tried that a couple of years ago, right? I think
2020, right?
2020, yeah. Well, I mean, 2020 kind of gets the asterisk there. I feel like that was the first race back with fans, right? Didn't they let like 1,000, essential personnel or something into the track? I feel like that might have been the first race.
That's a little
we actually had some fans in the stands there. NASCAR and I guess Florida was one of the states that reopened a little bit sooner. So kind of leading the way and getting back. I mean, that was just a
Daytona road course.
Yeah. I mean, that it's not a great
times.
Yeah, but we did go back to Homestead early in the 2021 season as well. So I don't know. I mean, again, Miami's certainly a destination city in that regard, although Homestead-Miami is even, I think, a little bit further south than that. I don't know if you've ever looked at Homestead-Miami on like a satellite map, but there was like literally nothing south of Homestead. Just like you get to Homestead-Miami Speedway, and then it's just like 40 miles of back roads down to the Florida Keys, I guess, or whatever. I mean, it's literally like the southernmost point of the civilization there in many respects. But yeah, that is, I suppose, an argument for having it in the spring. I don't know. Maybe it could be one of the tracks that we go to twice. I think the racing's good enough to maybe justify that. But yeah, I mean, I would certainly, again, if I could only get one, I would much rather have it. If we're going to have it this time of year, just make it a championship race for sure. And I think Adam agrees with that, as well as many other fans. Like Homestead's season finale needs to go back. We'll see if they do just that here in a couple of years' time. All right, let's get into the racing weekend here at Homestead with the series we normally cover on this show. And we'll start with the Craftsman Truck Series race. And Grant Enfinger is now 2 for 2 here in this round of 8. Brandon, how much of a statement win was this from Grant Enfinger, being the only one that has won a race in this round, locked himself into a championship 4? And is he now taking the fight to Corey Heim and Christian Eckes? Do you view him perhaps as one of your championship favorites?
He's going to be like that fourth guy with the 3 Titans that we sort of expect to be there, I think, with this lock. It definitely is a statement win, though. Winning Talladega was sort of a thing where, like, yeah, anyone can do that. But to come at Homestead-Miami, that's not a place where we expect Grant Enfinger to win. And it's been a really slow start for him this year anyway. And he's slowly been kind of creeping up on our Truck Series radar. And all of a sudden, with CR7 Motorsports, he's back where he used to be with ThorSport. That's about the last time we talked about him on a regular basis. So it's already a good season, no matter what happens here for Grant Enfinger. But to get around Lane Riggs and company there at Homestead, that was a big move for him to work that out and get the win. It's definitely a power statement for Grant Enfinger, and he has a shot to win it here this year.
Yeah, I think really a lot of the spirit of GMS racing is still with that CR7 Motorsports truck.
Sure.
And, yeah, obviously Grant came very close to championship last year with Ben Rhodes, and again, just the absolute chaos that we saw at the Truck Series finale last year. Hopefully, we don't get a repeat of that this season. But yeah, Brian, I guess we'll take this next question here first. I'll swap it in our rundown here. I guess if you want to give your championship 4 picks, you just alluded to the fact that you think he might be kind of, I guess, what Joey Logano was in 2018, like the big 3 and me sort of situation, and then just quietly getting hot at the right time, sneaking up in there and perhaps stealing a championship. We know Enfinger's locked in. We've been talking about Corey Heim and Christian Eckes, and to a lesser extent, even Ty Majeski all year. Would those be your 4 championship 4 picks, or do you look at a guy like Raja Carruth, Taylor Gray, Tyler Ankrum, or Nick Sanchez? Do you think any of them can pull off a Hail Mary kind of victory at Martinsville, or maybe find a way to point their way in, run well in the stages, and they could maybe take one of those championship 4 spots? Or do you like the 4 favorites that we got here instead?
I mean, I'd be an idiot to just put a lock on it now, because Martinsville and the trucks, that's about as chaotic as it can get. I guess I'll say Heim, Eckes, Majeski, and Enfinger. I got to stick with that. I think one of those big 3 is going to win at Martinsville, and it'll sort of be as it was as we go to Phoenix.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Brandon. I just pulled up the results for the season here, and looking at Martinsville, Eckes won there in the spring. Actually swept both stages as well. Ty Majeski sat on pole and finished 2nd. Corey Heim finished 10th. So I think all 3 of those guys are going to be tough to beat. Heim has been tough to beat everywhere, as has Christian Eckes, and even Ty Majeski, I think, to a certain extent. If you had to if you had to form a big 3 and needed a 3rd guy, I think Majeski has been your guy more often than not this year. But I look at the rest of the results here. You don't have to go that much further down. Nick Sanchez was 4th. Tyler Ankrum was 5th. Taylor Gray was 6th. And Raja Carruth was 7th. So all 4 of those quote-unquote underdogs here, the 4 that are perhaps on the outside looking in to be in the championship 4, they all had strong runs at Martinsville here in the spring. So I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that one of them could sneak up in there and perhaps steal a win and maybe upset one of these 3 drivers who have had great seasons. But again, as you mentioned, doesn't get much more chaotic than trucks in Martinsville. Maybe again the Phoenix race last year, and we'll see if that rears its ugly head again in a couple of weeks' time.
I don't want it to.
I don't want it to either. I'm just saying, we got to think about what happened there last year. But Martinsville chaotic enough. I mean, we could certainly see some surprises there. There are no guarantees, even for Corey Heim. If we do get a new winner, of one of those 4 drivers, I think definitely conceivable that he could drop enough points if he gets caught up in something early in the race, can't take advantage of the stages. If he picks up the stage points we expect him to, I think Heim is probably relatively safe, certainly the safest of the 3 there, and Eckes to a certain extent. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say it's going to be Enfinger and then Heim, Eckes, and Majeski will find a way, but I can't count out any of these 4 other drivers either here. I think we have a very solid round of 8, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. That's why the races aren't run on paper. We take the trucks out to the racetrack. We're going to see what happens here later this weekend.
Man, all it takes is one of those faithful NASCAR overtimes and a late race yellow. It could be very well one of those underdogs there, but also it could just be I could very well see Lane Riggs coming in and taking another one of these non-playoff wins where it's just much too late. He's having the best season of his rookie Truck Series career at just the wrong time. Still, like even at Homestead, he was about to win it.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously he had some strong runs at the start of the playoffs, but just wasn't quite able to get that win before he needed to. So we'll see if he can continue to play spoiler as well. Lots of storylines to follow. One storyline in particular we should also follow up on an incident in the race here this weekend involving Connor Jones and Matt Mills. You see Matt Mills credited, of course, for the last place finish. Connor Jones went on to finish 25th. Mills was hospitalized after the contact with Connor Jones, only was released here today, and released a video updating everyone on his condition. And we have that here for you. This is what Matt Mills posted to X/Twitter this morning here. Take a look.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be out of the hospital. Still a little raspy, as you can hear, but just all the overwhelming support and text messages I've got just mean so much to me. It definitely didn't like being in the hospital as long as I was, or being in that situation. So having you guys there to support me and help me get through that, just can't thank y'all enough. I can't wait to be back at the racetrack, Martinsville this weekend, and continue doing what I love. It's definitely a scary situation I've had, but it's just part of the sport. And thanks to NASCAR medical team and everyone at the hospital, and just everyone at the Nice Motorsports and JF Electric for continuing to support me and get through this tough deal. Means a lot, and I'm more motivated than ever to keep doing my job. And we got 2 more races to try and get a good finish and get some momentum for that 2025 year. So just ready to get home, get cleaned up, and just continue the recovery process, and see y'all in Martinsville.
All right, I was slightly off there. It was actually this afternoon, technically, I guess this morning for everybody on the West Coast, but 12:36 p.m. Matt Mills sent that video out on his X/Twitter account. This just came in a few hours ago from Nice Motorsports. Matt Mills has been released from Jackson South Medical Center as of Monday, October 28th, and has safely returned home to North Carolina. Mills, driver of number 42 from Nice Motorsports, was transported and held for observation after an incident in Saturday's NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Once again, Matt and the entire Nice Motorsports organization would like to thank the track safety crews, NASCAR medical staff, and everyone at Jackson South Medical Center for the care provided. Now, Connor Jones also released a statement after the incident. This is what he had to say. I have not yet had a chance to personally apologize to Matt for the incident that took place during today's race at Homestead-Miami Speedway, but I intend to do so. Matt and I have encountered several on-track incidents this season, and I let my frustration get the best of me. I underestimated the impact my actions would have on Matt, and I deeply regret the consequences that followed. I would like to extend my sincerest apologies to Matt, Nice Motorsports, NASCAR, and my entire ThorSport Racing team for my unsportsmanlike behavior. My thoughts are with Matt during this time after hearing that he has been taken to the hospital for further evaluation following the contact on the racetrack. That's signed from Connor Jones. Brandon, what's your reaction to the incident, the aftermath? Matt Mills being hospitalized. Great to see him, of course, released here this afternoon. And do you think that this just goes back to the culture problem that we've talked about in this show before, with these young drivers not recognizing the impact and consequences that their actions might have.
Yeah, I think it stems exactly back to that same topic, and for some, it doesn't take believing that warning is real until they actually almost kill somebody to finally go, oh, maybe I should, not do that. So again, we're not race car drivers, but outside looking in, you can see that sort of that type of culture shift has been in the last decade or so taking hold in some of these younger crops of drivers that are coming in, and it's sort of being slowly accepted as commonplace or expected to either advance your position or to make your way into the postseason. But yeah, anytime a driver goes to the hospital, it's always a great sign, and always thankful to see that they come out and they're okay. Great to see that Matt Mills is fine. Also, just as good, if not better, to see Connor Jones to actually, stop and put up I know an apology is usually required by your, sort of forced by your team and your sponsors to keep everyone happy. But I hope that was truly genuine, and that, hopefully it only takes one time to realize that you shouldn't do that. And we'll just leave it there. Hope that it only takes once there for Connor Jones, and of course not going to, put that on his record forever. He's human, he's young, and we all do stupid things. But just thankfully for Connor Jones, he was able to get away with it this time, maybe as a warning that don't let it happen again.
Yeah, I heard some people, and again, the internet is always undefeated when it comes to, this sort of thing. You really have to be careful who you get your sources from and who you trust and everything. But some people were saying that they ran it through an AI text generator or whatever, and found that it was like 100% likely that it was just an AI generated statement. And, I don't want to, speculate unless we have like hard positive proof or evidence there. I know that that technology can be as unreliable as AI sometimes. I do have to say it did feel like it was very PR crafted to an extent, especially the first paragraph there. So I do appreciate that he posted something and didn't just completely ghost everybody and remain silent there. But I do think it is a good reminder, and I'm not saying that he's completely blameless for the situation. Certainly he deserves to be held accountable for his actions out there, but I don't think it's a Connor Jones problem by any means. I think we saw it, quite frankly. There's that finale coming up again, Brandon, the Truck Series at Phoenix last year. We saw it with Carson Hocevar, and then again with Corey Heim retaliating. If somebody gets hit in the wrong spot or the wrong angle or the wrong way, you just never know what kind of impact can have. Or maybe sometimes it's not even the impact. It's the which sounds like it was the case with Matt Mills. It was inhaling the fumes and the smoke and everything from the damage that comes from the impact. You never know what can go wrong when you're playing these games at 150, 160 miles an hour, however fast they were going. Yeah. So again, I think it's a not so subtle wake up call, not just to Connor Jones, but to the entire Truck Series field, that as safe as these cars and trucks are nowadays, this is still a dangerous sport at the end of the day, and I think we have to keep that in mind. And I think what Joe is suggesting here in the chat, maybe isn't such a bad idea here. Connor Jones obviously isn't full time, but it might still be worth sitting him out for a race. And whether that comes from NASCAR or comes from ThorSport, I don't know off the top of my head what his remaining schedule is going to look like this year if he was slated to run Martinsville or Phoenix. But that might not be such a bad idea either. To show everybody that these actions can have consequences, and that could be on your part, having to sit out a race, or it could be, in the case of Matt Mills, actually injuring a driver and sending them to the hospital for a couple of days. And thankfully, Matt seems like he's doing as well as we could reasonably expect, and seems excited to get back to the track at Martinsville this weekend. So we're thankful that he dodged a bullet there, and it sounds like it could have been a lot worse than it was. So again, grateful to see him post that video this afternoon, and wishing him all the best. He continues on his recovery. Hopefully has a good run this weekend at Martinsville.
Yeah, and may Connor Jones be an example to some other drivers around the paddock that, how many times does it take for the sport to realize that your car is not a weapon to be used against somebody else. I mean, it was also in a weapon. But yeah, also like NASCAR, like at that moment, they had all the video evidence and everything. I not only should he be parked for the next race, he should have been parked for that race immediately. Like, I don't know why he was
I
on
agree.
pit road for that limited amount of time and allowed to go back on the racetrack. That's beyond me from the start.
Yeah, well, I mean, and to be completely fair, I think 2 laps is certainly about as harsh as it gets without parking somebody for the remainder of the event. But I don't know why that wasn't an option here. In fact, I think it certainly was an option. We've seen it before. Drivers get parked for on-track behavior, and maybe they would have said that's as far as it's going to go. And I did just pull up the Martinsville entry list. I wanted to double check. I didn't know off the top of my head. The 66th for Thor Sport is entered, and Connor Jones is listed as the driver. So at the moment, he will be at Martinsville this weekend as well. Matt Mills also on the entry list, which is good to see that confirmed after his hospital stay this weekend. So, again, hopefully it ends there. It's a lesson learned, and as you said, Brandon, these young drivers especially are human. They're going to make mistakes, and they're going to, perhaps fall into that culture trap that we've talked about here on this show about how the young drivers just see these massive accidents. They see drivers walk away all the time, and it kind of makes them feel invincible. And then something like this happens, and you recognize maybe that's not necessarily the case. So, again, I think a good wake up call and reminder to everybody, especially the young ones, but also, as we saw with Matt Craft and Nick Sanchez last year, even the veterans, I think sometimes need a reminder that, what we're doing here is quite serious, and we shouldn't let it boil over to situations like that.
I'll take cues from the NFL here with all the socio-political things they want to push in recent years. It takes all of us. It does take all of us if you want that kind of culture to change.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's certainly, like I said, it's Connor Jones is an individual, and I don't think that he should get away scot-free with it. But again, I think when you have a culture situation like that, I think you're right, Brandon. It does take the entire field to recognize the dangers here, and that's the only way that you're going to make an impactful change on the culture in this sport, but particularly in the Truck Series, which has come under quite a lot of scrutiny over the last couple of years in particular.
It's like a high school. Stomp out bullying. Just stop it.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Let's get this set back up here. Let's pull up the Xfinity Series results, and let's move on to recap that race here. And Austin Hill, Brandon, it's his 4th win of the year, but it's his first on a non-drafting track. It punches his ticket to the championship at Phoenix. So we know Hill had some playoff points, obviously, from that Daytona win and those Atlanta wins. But was this a surprise to you, winning here at Homestead and being somebody that's now with AJ Allmendinger locked into the championship in a couple of weeks' time at Phoenix?
I didn't see Austin Hill being in that championship 4 list. No, not really. So it is sort of a surprise for him to win on a mile and a half. He's just every time we went to a drafting track this year, you just after Daytona just kind of expected, well, he'll be up in the front, and he ended up winning 3. But what doesn't surprise me is Sheldon Creed back there in 5th. being up there so close, but not close enough. His own teammate there. So Austin Hill having the better year of the RCR camp on the Xfinity level.
His former teammate.
Former teammate, excuse me.
Yeah.
Wow, I still put Sheldon in the 2.
Yeah.
The
Martinsville race. Yeah. But Jesse Love was right up there as well. So RCR definitely showing some speed this weekend.
Yeah, and the car sorry, Sheldon, the car you were formerly in was right in front of you. So there you go. Yeah. But yeah, Austin Hill's win was definitely a surprise there at Miami.
Yeah, I'm looking at Hill's results right now, and had a solid, I guess you could say, round of 12 here, 7th at Kansas, 24th at Talladega, which is again, I think is where we would have expected him to potentially, have a strong run there, or excuse me, maybe 23rd there. We'll follow up there. It looks like there's a discrepancy between the 2 graphics I'm looking at, but and then 4th at the Roval, and then 10th last week at Vegas, and then very strong run at Homestead this weekend, leaving no doubt about the pace that he had there. And again, I would not have picked AJ Allmendinger last week and Austin Hill this week, but those are the 2 that are locked into the championship 4 right now. I would have maybe gone with Justin Allgaier to to win a race. He's kind of been a more reliable threat. When it comes time for this time of year, when you think of somebody who's strong, everywhere we go, liable to win on any given Saturday, I guess in this case here, I think Allgaier's name certainly comes to mind, as does Cole Custer's perhaps, and Custer came very close. Eric Almirola, another strong run for him as well, and got to keep our eye on Almirola as well on the owners' championship side of things. That 20 car is still competing for that, so strong run for that entry there. But yeah, I mean, Austin Hill, I think again we've talked so much about his success on the drafting tracks this year, and particularly Atlanta. But credit to him where it's due, getting this win to punch his ticket to the championship for. So I guess we'll go ahead, and since we're on the subject of it now, we'll go ahead and reverse the order here a little bit. Brandon, obviously we have 2 spots locked in for the championship 4 here, so 2 up for grabs with 6 remaining drivers here: Justin Allgaier, Cole Custer, Chandler Smith. We'll get to him more in just a moment about his potential plans for next year, but he's in the mix there, as is Jesse Love, Sam Mayer, and Sammy Smith as well. Who would be your picks of those 6 drivers to take those final 2 spots at Martinsville this weekend?
It's rough. Justin Allgaier has a big advantage here, already being 35 points above the cut line. I'd say my weakest links would be Jesse Love and Sammy Smith. So goodbye. Sammy Smith, 95. I mean, on the very bottom of it. My next tier would be Sam Mayer and Chandler Smith. And so I guess Cole Custer has a really good shot of being in the championship 4, along with Justin Allgaier. So just like the trucks, it might stay. I think it might stay as it is, unless of course Chandler Smith does something radical, as we will get to later, which might become a possibility. Because he's the lone Toyota here with a shot at the title this year. He might decide to do something there for the manufacturer and make some big moves. But those are my in tiers, I guess. Sammy Smith, Jesse Love, least likely. Sam Mayer, Cole, Chandler Smith, maybe a little more likely, and then your big dogs, Cole Custer and Justin Allgaier, have, I think, the best shot.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't even think about that with the manufacturer situation. Obviously, we've got Childress Carson there. Yeah, colleague, and Cole Custer with Ford and everything, and of course Junior Motorsports. But Chandler Smith's flying the banner there for Toyota. A couple of clarifications just want to make real quick. I did go back to the results from Talladega. It was 23rd for Austin Hill there, so get that clarification taken care of there as well. And we'll move on. I guess, speaking of Chandler Smith, interesting interview this weekend with Bob Pockris after the race. Chandler Smith kind of dropping some surprising news regarding what he might be doing next year. And I'll let the man himself speak here. This is what Chandler had to say after the Xfinity race in an interview with Fox Sports' Bob Pockris. Take a look.
Well, I don't have a ride next year, Bob. I could be working for my dad's construction business, and I could be hanging it up at the end of this year. So with that being said, all craps will not be given in Martinsville. And we were really fast there in the spring. Just don't need a wreck in practice, so I can make my life a little easier and not have to drive from the back, hopefully. It's meant to be. It'll happen. If not, we still have an amazing season this year, and super, super grateful for the opportunity that I had this year with everybody that I was able to work with at Joe Gibbs Racing. The only seats left open, you got to bring a big, big, big pocketbook with you, and I don't have a big pocketbook, so.
I don't have a bunch of pocketbooks, is what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think it would be very unfortunate because I think Chandler Smith has a lot of talent. I think has been viewed as one of the top prospects, top young potential future stars in this sport, and particularly in the Xfinity Series the last couple of years. But, Brandon, what's your reaction to hearing that not even Chandler Smith might have an opportunity next year and could be going to work for his dad in their construction business, or, be out of the sport entirely?
That's really shocking. But at the same time, Chandler Smith, literally just got here also. So, I mean, I guess it's not too much of a move for him. I do remember, like it was yesterday in 2019, he was like my one of my only driver interviews of being out and about at Nashville Fairgrounds. So that's something I still always remember. But like, yeah, he literally just advanced through trucks and got there to Xfinity this year with Joe Gibbs Racing, and so he could just as easily leave. So I mean, just got to remember how quickly things go. But he's a really good talent. He needs to have some sort of way to stay there. But that might actually move him above in my little tier list here, just because of the stakes for him and just the pressure that's lifted off of him. He has a shot at the title for Toyota in the Xfinity Series. He's not guaranteed a ride this next year because he doesn't have the pocketbooks to do so. So might be going back with his dad in the construction biz. Hate that, but also this should make us excited to watch Martinsville, because someone who doesn't have any craps to give at Martinsville is a guaranteed fun ride. So I hope he's still got some juice in the tank there in the final stage, and we might be able to see something exciting.
Yeah, well, we got to be careful with that, Brandon, because a couple years ago, Ty Gibbs didn't have any craps to give at Martinsville, and we all saw how that ended with.
Well, he had a ride the next year.
That's true, though. He's
a different story.
Yeah, Ty was set for sure. But just getting back to your point, Brandon, about Chandler Smith, really only 5 years ago was he bursting onto the scene. I guess he got his first win in ARCA in 2018 at Madison, and then won several more races. Never competed for an ARCA title, but was certainly very competitive in that series back in 2019, 2020 with Venturini Motorsports, and then got the opportunity to get in one of Kyle Busch's trucks and won several truck races from there. Went to Colleague last year, had a season there, won a race at Richmond, back with Gibbs and Toyota this year. And but even just flashing back to last year as well, Colleague gave him a few cup starts in that 13 car, that open car that they run sometimes, and didn't make the Daytona 500, but he finished 17th at Richmond, and then 15th at Daytona and 11th at Talladega. So the few cup starts that he got, showed a lot of promise and potential there. We'll see again, as Chandler mentioned, there aren't nearly as many seats still open or available for next season at this point in the year. Silly season's kind of taken shape here a little bit earlier, I think, than it usually does in many respects. But I do think it would be an absolute shame, if we don't see Chandler Smith racing anywhere in the top three divisions next year. I think he's got quite a bit of talent and, has a bright future in this sport if the opportunities open up and if he can find that sponsorship. So hopefully we'll continue to see him next year. Otherwise, what can I say? It's been, it's been a great ride for him. He's won several races, but, unfortunately, talent's only half the battle in this sport sometimes.
Yeah, money's the 2/3 of the battle sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, and speaking of next year, here's a comment from Adam Lemery saying he thinks the 2025 Xfinity Series rookie class could be one of the best of all time here. And I certainly wouldn't put that past this class here. You're going to have Nick Sanchez. I'm just pulling up the driver chart here. You got him in the big machine car replacing Parker Kligerman. Carson Kvapil and Connor Zilic will be at Junior Motorsports. Daniel Dye is going to be full-time, a colleague along with Christian Eckes. And then over at Gibbs, you're going to have William Sawalich and Taylor Gray. So those are some very strong names in terms of prospects that we expect a lot of next season. I think it might take them some time to get up to speed and start competing with Justin Allgaiers of the world. But I think, we could look back on this rookie class in several years' time and say that, there were some big names that came out of that for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be really exciting, Adam. I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of star-studded talent that we've been talking about for years already. And also, not only do they have a lot of talent, they have a lot of pocketbooks too. So they might be around a little bit longer or might advance to Cup a little quicker than expected.
Yeah. I think Sawalich is the same way. Probably doesn't have to worry about that aspect of his career at this point. I think he's going to be set for a while. So again, we'll keep our eye on everybody in Xfinity next year. A strong rookie class lined up here, and we'll see. Unfortunately, it looks like that Gibbs lineup is going to be, because we know Brandon Jones is coming back to that team next year as well. We don't know what his car number is going to be yet, but sounds like they're going to go with four full-time entries and run that rotation much like they're doing in the 20 car this year. And we'll see who slots in there. But if Chandler Smith is back, sounds like there's not going to be any room for him to run full time. So certainly put his name out there if he wins a championship. I think
then that's what he's going to have to do.
Yeah, the team's going to have to give him a call. I think to keep his career alive. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I hate that it's come that way for him, but it's going to make it all the more exciting.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on now to the ARCA Menards Series West. A quick recap of that race here this weekend. Sean Higurani, congratulations to him leading once again, flag to flag, leading every single lap here and firmly establishing himself as the championship favorite when it comes time for that race at Phoenix here in a couple of weeks. Tyler Reif and Trevor Huddleston, his two closest championship drivers that he's fighting in the championship, I should say, end up fourth and third there respectively. Reif is, I believe, 14 points back as we, head to Phoenix here, and Trevor Huddleston 37. So we'll see how big the entry list is here. Of course, Phoenix always produces a pretty large car count here for the ARCA Menards Series West. But I think when it comes down to it, I think, we're probably not going to get 37 cars. So I think all Higurani is going to have to do is take the green flag. That'll be the end for Trevor Huddleston. But Tyler Reif, potentially, if Higurani runs into trouble, could be there to capitalize. So by no means is the championship fully decided in ARCA West. But Higurani certainly this past weekend at Kern established himself as the championship favorite. He has all the momentum on his side, and we'll see if he can defend his championship in a couple of weeks at Phoenix. And finally tonight, series did wrap up their championship, the Whelen Modified Tour. And for the third race in a row, capping off another championship season for him, his 45th career win, now in sole possession of second all-time on the Modified Tour wins list. Justin Bonsignor picking up the win this weekend at Martinsville. So, Brandon, what are your thoughts? Another championship for Bonsignor and potentially adding to that future Hall of Fame resume in the Modified Tour as well.
Well, it sounds awfully similar to last week, doesn't it? Justin Bonsignor is the name for the Whelen Modifieds, the Tour mods. He's on a roll, and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, and that's all to be said. I mean, he just keeps on going, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think
it's hard to believe there's other names in the series.
Yeah. Yeah, he certainly established himself, as one of those names that you think of when you think of the modifieds. I think up there with, the Richie Evans and Mike Stefaniks and Ted Christophers of the world there. You can put Justin Bonsignor's name right up there in that same category. His fourth championship here. And, again, I think at this point, we always say, it's not the Cup Hall of Fame, it's the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I think when you look at the drivers from the Modified Tour that have made it in there, I think we realized when we lost Mike Stefanik, unfortunately, I think it was a crying shame that we did not get him inducted into the Hall of Fame while he was still with us. I hope that the Hall of Fame voting panel does not make that same mistake with Justin Bonsignor, and that whenever he decides to hang it up, because I think he still, as he showed to close out this season, has a lot left in the tank here, could win more races and more championships along the way. He's going to be around for a while, I think, but whenever his time comes, hopefully he will hear his name called and be in the Hall of Fame one day himself there. So congratulations again to him on a great run, and also Matt Hirschman, Jacob Lutz, Austin Beers. And how about Ryan Newman up there in the top five, as well as Hall of Famer Bobby Labonte up there in eighth place. He posted on social media today, actually, I think his last three modified races of the year. He said he ended the season with the crazy eights because he couldn't get out of eighth place there. That's where he was the last several races of his season. And Justin Bonsignor, of course, we know was in victory lane the last several races of his season here as well. So again, congratulations to Bonsignor on another championship. And again, we'll see what the future holds for him. But I think, it would be great to see him get another chance, maybe in that fourth Gibbs car next year, come do some more Xfinity Series races. I think he certainly earned that opportunity as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's always fun to hear Ryan Newman and Bobby Labonte's names in the Tour Mod Series too, as well, because I don't know, it's fun to hear that they're still racing together. And it's not, I'm not saying it's a retirement home for drivers, but it's a little more, it's a place where you can probably have a little more fun. And I'm not saying you can relax, but it's anything but maybe a little more laid back, a little more fun.
Yeah. Well, and think about what other sport, can you have Hall of Famers, come back and, be, not full timers, but, at least regular participants. And, how many times have we brought up Bobby Labonte's name? Great to see him out there continuing to race, in this series and in this tour. And Ryan Newman, I feel like, probably a borderline Hall of Famer at best. I'm sure some people would, make the case for him. I don't know if he necessarily, has the credentials in the same way as, some of the other drivers from his era. He never won a championship. He did have a lot of success early in his career, though, and won a Daytona 500. So maybe there might be an argument for him. But, regardless, still, one of the 75 greatest drivers in the list that came out last year. And, great to see him still out there having fun racing when he can. A series that he's had a lot of success in over the years as well.
If it was just based on Bud Pole Awards, well, then he would be doing pretty good, wouldn't he?
Oh, yeah. If the pole was all that mattered, if we have a Bud Pole Hall of Fame, then I think Ryan Newman would have been in years ago. They called him the Rocket Man for a reason there. But, I don't know. Maybe Newman, maybe he gets an opportunity. He wants to go full-time racing again. I think this would be a great place for him to do that. You just never know what the future is going to hold. So, but great to see him out there this weekend as well. And with another strong top 5 finish.
You've probably seen this video before. If you haven't, I recommend going back and seeing it. The 2003, it was either for the Southern 500 or the spring race at Darlington, and Ryan Newman's pole qualifying run. The sounds, the sights, the commentary, it all worked so well. All
right, well, that's going to do it for us here tonight for our racing recap. And before we go, we'll get into our one shining moments here. Brandon, what was the one thing that stood out to you from this weekend here at Homestead and everywhere else we were this weekend?
I got to give this one to the entire team of CR7 Motorsports for lighting up here at the end of the year when it actually matters and bringing it to the big dogs of the Craftsman Truck Series. Of course, they are a big dog, but they're carrying a lot of that energy that was left over from Thor Sport, like we were talking about. And it also has a lot to do with Grant Enfinger, but I didn't want to just say his name. I wanted to put the whole team involved in this one shining moment. So CR7 Motorsports is going for a title at Phoenix. They get the one shining moment.
Well, on a similar note, I'm going to do the same thing here on the Xfinity Series side of things. How about Ryan Sieg? Again, another strong run in that number 28 car, trying to help that car's owner's point situation there, and 7th place finish this weekend. Again, coming up heartbreakingly short to AJ Allmendinger last weekend at Las Vegas, but another strong run here this weekend at Homestead. And again, you have to think if that team just continues to progress as they have and keeps doing what they're doing, eventually that win is going to come. But well done to Ryan Sieg and again, the entire RSS racing team. Again, not a team that has the budget of a colleague or of a Gibbs or of a Junior Motorsports or anything, and yet they're still out here continuing, to get better every year, and now a weekly threat for top 10s and top 5s, and even on a couple of occasions this year made a threat for the race win. So great run for Ryan Sieg again. That is my one shining moment, and that is our show for this evening. So thank you all so much for tuning in as always, and be sure to follow the Grid Network on all of our social media platforms: X/Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn, Threads. Most importantly, subscribe to us here on YouTube at Grid Network TV. Thank you all so much for the continued support throughout 2024. And if you really liked what you saw tonight, you can take a few minutes after the show to consider joining our Patreon, joining Colin, Deshelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew in investing in the Grid Network on a monthly basis to help keep us on the air throughout 2024 and beyond. And our long-term goal of $500 per month will allow us, beginning in 2025, to continue to expand our coverage for you, the viewers, by getting to the track on site on a more regular basis. So if you want to see that, you can consider joining them on Patreon, or if you'd rather make a one-time contribution instead, you can visit the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box below. Or if you're watching on YouTube, we now have a super chat feature enabled as well. Any amount helps us continue to grow our motorsports media outlet. Now on Wednesday, don't miss Grid Tonight with Kobe Lambeth, Matt White, and Josh Birch. Great to see Josh back this weekend as well. Hope he's continuing to heal well from his hospital stay and his surgery. So great to see him back last week. Don't miss that. On Wednesday, Women in Motorsports will hopefully be back this week as well. We've got a little bit to catch up on after not doing a show last week, but we have had some news. Sophia Flourish getting the Indy Next test this week as well. So we'll recap that the next time we're on the air with that show. And then, of course, you can stay tuned for more Grid Live coverage this weekend, pre-race and wrap-up as we head to Martinsville and, all the other coverage that we have coming up next weekend. And then we'll be back next Monday for another episode of Encore. Brandon, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening here?
We go to the paperclip for the last time here in 2024, and it's designed to be as chaotic as it's going to be. We'll see if the drivers tame it up, or if we get a 2-hour-long show next Monday to talk about it. It might require it. I don't know, but Martinsville, always fun, and if you can't pass, that's okay, because you'll find a way.
Well, I want to say congratulations to Frankie Muniz. He just announced that he'll be racing full-time next year with the Raceway brothers in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. So great to see him back with a full schedule again. He's been racing part-time this year, of course, after the full season in ARCA in 2023. And I just want to say that I really hope that he can find some stability next year, because it seems like week after week, every opportunity he's gotten, every time he's gotten the chance to come back into a car or a truck, he's just had bad luck continue to bite him. He had it this weekend with a bit of a mechanical issue. They got him back out on track and finished the race. That gained him some valuable experience at the very least. But hopefully we can see him have a little bit more stability now that he's going to be full-time again next year. The Raceway brothers, again, I think a team, not much unlike what the Sieg family was, several years back. They built their program up through the Truck Series. Now they're obviously in Xfinity, but that's a smaller family-run operation. So, again, I don't know if a race win or, top 5, top 10 weekly contender, probably a little bit too high of expectations. Don't want to put too much pressure on Frankie next year, but it is great to still have him in our sport, and great to see him signing that full-time deal this week for 2025 as well. So wishing him all the best next season. We'll see what he can do. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching our show this weekend. Be sure to tune in for the next 2 weekends here as we wrap up the NASCAR season and look ahead. 2025 is just around the corner, going to be here before we know it. So for Brandon Crossland, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you on the next episode. Have a good one.